Now, in recent months, central Indiana has had several fires that burned hotter and longer, in part because of something each of the fire scenes lacked.
So we sent 24-hour News 8 Daybreak anchor Scott Sander out to ask questions about that, and he got some surprising answers.
That chimney's going to collapse here.
Lawrence, a Boy Scout building burns.
All kinds of memories created here.
Brownsburg, a deadly blaze spotlights a neighborhood need. Fishers, a firefight stalls for lack of water.
Man, this baby's burning big time.
The common link, what's not there.
It feels like forever when you're standing out here watching that hose waiting for it to fill up.
That would make you sick. Come home to that.
Take the Fishers fire, 97th Street, late last year. It burned down Lee Leiter's boyhood home.
It's heartbreaking.
The critical moment came when firefighters ran out of water.
You can see the hoses, but we don't see any water.
Fishers firefighters knew what they were up against since there is no fire hydrant in the neighborhood.
Your onboard water was out, and you were still trying to get a secondary source of water.
Yeah, that happened pretty quickly.
The home burned as firefighters worked furiously to get more water. They eventually linked to a hydrant thousands of feet away about the time the tanker arrived, roughly 20 minutes after the original call. Anyone who gets water from a well should know about tankers, rolling water supplies that were state-of-the-art in 1896.
A very old and maybe low-tech way of fighting fires is still a very critical part of the way you do it.
Yes, it is. And even in today's world, we think, you know, with all the technology we have, we still have areas in Marion County that we have to rely on an old technology, an old way.
Those old school tankers can get a lot of water on a fire, but most fire stations and many entire departments no longer have them, even if they cover neighborhoods that need them.
75th and Gale in Washington Township, Maple Drive near downtown Fisher, Stop 11 in South Meridian, a whole neighborhood. All of these places are within walking distance of the nearest fire station, but none of them have hydrants. So a fire here or here or here prompts an immediate call for a tanker, likely from another town or township several miles away.
The nearby stations will get there first and fight hard, but when they run out of onboard water, they'll have to turn to the tanker as soon as it gets there. We were surprised to find that's news to many.
If there were a fire here right now, how would they get water on it?
That's a good question.
You have any thoughts?
I don't imagine they would.
Bill McCullough and Mike Shoemate live at 75th and Gale. They have for 6 years and say they never realized their neighborhood has no hydrants.
I take it for granted, actually, yeah.
Does it bother you now that you realized it?
Yeah, it does.
They're not alone. No one we spoke with in this neighborhood seemed to notice the lack of fire plugs. Michelle Duncan cares for her niece every day here.
No, and that's kind of an odd question that you ask that, because I haven't noticed a fire hydrant.
There are no fire hydrants in this neighborhood.
There isn't. Not even down along this street right here.
This neighborhood will get hydrants. Indianapolis Water is set to install lines and hydrants here come spring. But don't expect mass changes in all older neighborhoods anytime soon.
You know, anywhere from $5 to 10 grand, $10,000 just to go in and replace one. And if you're talking about going in and putting them in a spot where there's no water main at all, now you're talking about a whole lot of money.
Indianapolis Water serves many of these areas and says that water lines, and thus hydrants, go in when neighborhoods ask and are willing to pay connection fees. So they say if you look at your street corner and you don't like what you don't see, speaking up is the first step to better fire protection. Scott Sander, 24-Hour News 8.
That's a great story by Scott. And here's some more information that it could be very valuable for you. If you live in a neighborhood and you're not sure if you have a hydrant or not, go to wishtv.com. We have linked up this map. Now, what this shows is most of the city really basically is hooked up by hydrants, but you're going to see these little areas of blue outlined by green. That shows an area that is a tanker zone. In other words, you got to get a tanker in there to fight the fire. If your neighborhood wants to hook up to the city water and get hydrants, you can find out how to start that process again on wishtv.com.